Various forms of electronic cinema have been around for many years. For example, early colour projectors were used to demonstrate medical procedures conducted at Hollywood Hospital in Nedlands during the early 1960s. But it was not until 1999 that public demonstrations of modern-day digital cinema began as an experimental effort, privately funded by major motion picture studios. Star Wars Episode I, The Phantom Menace, and An Ideal Husband were the first motion pictures to be shown on the big screen in digital in June of 1999.
It's like 1977. I haven't felt this since 1977.
Episode 2, man. Episode 2, brother. Episode 2. Alright. It's just beginning, man. It's just an ending.
This is fucking awesome.
The Phantom Menace was the final Star Wars film to be shot on 35mm film, though some scenes were shot on high-definition digital video to reduce the amount of digitising of the 35mm film for the compositing of computer-generated effects and the increased use of computer editing. This cumbersome process then required the digital image to be transferred back to film for projecting, an unnecessary step if the movie stays in the digital format for projection.
Do you want to do Star Wars? They said, I said, too fucking right.
Digitising films requires special scanners to achieve high-definition results, devices that have evolved from the telecine equipment employed by television studios.
Ariscan has become the industry standard for highest quality film scanning. The precisely calibrated Ariscan LED illumination emits cold light and therefore does not subject the film to thermal stress, an essential prerequisite when dealing with extremely flammable nitrate film material.
Converting the computer-generated effects into film images requires the reverse process, which has evolved from the tele-recording equipment of yesteryear. The increased use of sophistication of computer-generated imagery, CGI, has avoided the need to use miniature models, matte paintings and on-set visual effects that were achieved through the camera tricks that were traditional for many years of movie special effects. In June 1999, George Lucas announced that Episode 2 of the Star Wars prequel trilogy would be the first major motion picture to be shot 100% digitally. Sony and Panavision had teamed up to develop the high-definition camera that Lucas would use to accomplish this.
I hate it when he does that.
Anakin, don't do anything without first consulting either myself or the Council.
You don't need guidance, Anakin. I see you becoming the greatest of all Jedi.
The boy has exceptional skills.
His abilities have made him arrogant.
Excuse me. I'm in charge of security here, milady.
Sophisticated electronic cameras that can trace their heritage directly back to the television and early digital still cameras.
This is Steven Sasson, who more than 30 years ago was given an assignment from his employer, Kodak. And what he came up with changed the history of photography forever. Yep, it was Steven Sasson who invented this, the first digital camera.
We had to build a switch right here, and it had two positions. The first one turned power on to the camera, where all the electronic would turn on. And then the second one would grab the picture. And then after the picture was grabbed, it was read out in about 50 milliseconds and digitized and stored in a digital memory card, which was contained down here. And so it was captured then. But it wasn't stored then. I needed a more permanent form of storage. And so the only more permanent form of digital storage I had available to me at the time was digital cassette. It took about 23 seconds to record, and the tape would hold 30 images, a number I chose, by the way, to be conveniently between 24 and 36. I didn't want to store just one or two images on there, because then they'd say, well, that's not very useful. Sitting in the pixel chair. That's right.
The principal photography took place at Fox Studios Australia in Sydney.
Do you have any idea who's behind this attack?
We will find out who's trying to kill you, Padme. I promise you.
Escort the senator back to the booth. She'll be safer there.
I do not like this idea of hiding.
Sometimes we must do what is requested of us.
All future Star Wars films would be shot using Sony Cine Ultra high-definition video cameras. These cameras can replicate many of the same features of film motion picture cameras. The modern-day cameras have the ability to shoot at various frame rates, including 24 frames a second, and a resolution of up to 8K. Filmmakers now take for granted the low light capabilities of digital cameras. There is no film stock that will allow you to shoot without any lights and still get noise-free results. While film cameras are cheaper and less complex, film stocks and processing are still quite expensive for filmmakers. Whilst there is virtually no turnaround time when processing digital dailies, digital also allows for long or virtually unlimited record times. The projector technology of choice quickly became DLP Cinema from Texas Instruments. With digital light processing technology, the image is created by microscopically small mirrors laid out in a matrix on a semiconductor chip to project images onto a large screen.
At the heart of the projector, a high-precision prism splits white light into primary colors and then beams it onto 3 microchips. On their surfaces, 8.8 million mirrors, smaller than a pinprick. They flicker on microscopic hinges to split up the light beam into 8.8 million pixels that form a moving image. The prism merges the light from the 3 chips to produce 281 trillion shades of color.
Other methods soon evolved using LCD and laser principles. Digital has many advantages as film will degrade with time, while digital images do not.
What is it?
It's a wind-up figure, like a music box.
Who built him?
I would think a magician. You see this? A keyhole in the shape of a heart.
Another mystery. Where are your parents, little man?
Go!
Hey!
Make a sign! Make a sign, mate! Mate!
With digital movies, the 1000th showing is as good as the first showing.
That's out! Apprehend!
Taught me happy endings only happen in the movies.
The story's not over yet.
This isn't always the case with analogue films, which can have scratches, breaks, or other flaws. A digital cinema is less labour-intensive. Digital content can be distributed electronically via the internet, satellites, or hard disks, making it simpler, fast and less expensive than the time taken and cost incurred for the shipping and handling of heavy film reels in boxes. The films used in analogue cinemas need dedicated personnel for receiving, prepping and showing, dismantling and returning the movies. There are management software tools available for digital cinema which can automatically schedule the movies shown in various screens in a multiplex without manual intervention. The biggest stumbling block of digital projectors is cost. In early 2011, installation of digital projectors cost between $50,000 and $150,000 per auditorium. Retrofitting a multiplex with 12 screens could cost anywhere from $500,000 to $2 million. Digital is more expensive to operate on a daily basis because digital projectors use twice as much energy to operate and require larger lamps for projection that burn out quickly. In most film theatres, staff is usually skilled enough to do repairs if a projector malfunctions. However, digital projectors can only be repaired and maintained by studio-certified companies. This increased costs and may even lead to dark screens if a repairman cannot get to the theatre quickly enough, a potential issue in rural areas.
That was a Pictures in Motion InFocus presentation.